Hello, this is David Braun from Automated Valuation Technologies Incorporated. Welcome to the video that I call the nitty gritty, and we're going to do this in two parts. So this is a part one. We are working with beta version 3.1 of the Compass spreadsheet. And if you've been using it, the previous versions, you'll see several improvements. This beta version of the Compass will run free until December of 2017. If appraisers like and use it, then it will be programmed so that Excel is not required, and it'll be better integrated into your workflow with automatic data input and automatic transfer to your forms package. AVT began selling a standalone multiple regression program in 2008. Many of the users of the Regression Plus wanted more information on extracting adjustment rates. This resulted in my new book, The Valuation Analyst: Research and Extracting Adjustment Rates. In this book, the probabilities of reasonable outputs are calculated. Statements like appraisers must prove their adjustments, different appraisers should use the same adjustment rates, and appraisers must not rely on their experience, training, and judgment to make an adjustment are all refuted with mathematical evidence. So what I'm saying is none of those statements are true, and most of them are actually mathematically proven in the book. Some appraisers are looking for an alternative to regression analysis. The Compass might best be described as going back to the future. It is an interactive mathematical methodology utilizing paired sales analysis, sensitivity analysis, and residual analysis. The purpose of the Valuation Analyst book is to get the appraisal profession on a solid footing where adjustments are concerned. The book does that by developing an understanding of the appraiser's due diligence associated with extracting adjustment rates. And if you're an appraiser, you know what I mean. You never know for sure, did I do enough in extracting these adjustments that I met USPAP? The Compass spreadsheet was developed to test some hypotheses that were put forth in the book. This spreadsheet is now available as a free download at www.avttools.com. This is probably where you are right now watching this video. While the Compass does not utilize regression analysis, it is an alternative direct mathematical methodology requiring the appraiser's input. So there's some keywords here. One, it's not regression analysis, but it is a mathematical methodology, and it does require the appraiser's input. So those three things are important. Not regression, it's a mathematical methodology, but it requires the appraiser's input. Now, in the book, and you may hear me say that in both these videos, the book, and that's the Valuation Analyst. This is a part of a table here that was in that book. And it talks about, to know what due diligence you need to do in extracting your adjustment rates, you first have to know what type of market you're in. So we defined the markets and broke them into three main divisions: Division 1, 2, and 3, with the most active and efficient markets being 1, and the least active and efficient markets being in the Division 3. Then each one of these three divisions are broken down into two categories: an A and a B, C and D, and E and F. Now, what I put forth in the book is that if you're in market categories A, B, or C, you probably in most cases, you would want to present some direct mathematical extraction methods for at least some of your adjustment rates. Now, not necessarily all of them, but for some of your adjustment rates. When appraisers do an appraisal, there's 13 or 14 easy adjustments that are property features that might be distinct, but usually they're not, because we select comparables that are somewhat similar. And when we do that, there's often only 3 or 4 features that we try to adjust. And you even in markets B and C, maybe in A, but in B and C, it's not always even possible to do mathematical on each one of those 4 or 5 features that we're trying to extract adjustment rates. So the book talks about that. And so to understand your due diligence, obviously, if you're in a market category F, the least active and efficient, you probably can provide no direct mathematical support. Regression's not going to work. The compass is not going to work that we have here. Probably paired sales is not even going to work. And in the book, we talk about how you might handle this division 3 and how you might extract your adjustment rates. When appraising properties in an A, B, or C category, those are the active and efficient markets, some evidence based on direct mathematical analysis is expected. Certainly, regression analysis is a good method for Division 1 market divisions. However, the compass may be a good alternative and may have better results in less active and efficient markets. Other less direct techniques, like the cost and income-based methods, can also be used. And they can be used in any of those 3 market divisions. But what I'm trying to say here is, if you're appraising something in a market division 1, it's still okay to use income-based and cost-based in addition to direct mathematical evidence that you try to produce. And again, that all comes down to your scope of work, and scope of work. If you've heard me talk about scope of work, how you know if you've met your due diligence is, if something goes wrong, how bad is it going to hurt your client and or your intended user, certainly all of your intended users? How bad are they going to be hurt? And if this is a serious thing, and sometimes we do appraisals that are very, very serious, then you should do more to extract your adjustment rates. But each appraisal assignment's different. So the other less direct techniques, like the cost and income based methods, and there's several others. My book talks about several other methods. It's okay to use them as well as, or in addition to, the direct mathematical support. Secondary data like population and income trends should still be considered. You still need to look at those. Okay, so the valuation analyst the valuation analyst research and extracting adjustment rates can be purchased at CreateSpace or Amazon.com. I believe on the website you could click buy this book, and it actually takes you to CreateSpace, which, by the way, CreateSpace is owned by Amazon.com. And this is a print-on-demand book through CreateSpace. All right, now let's talk about actually getting into, let's see if I can close this, file, and close, and don't save, or go ahead and save, I don't care. Okay, let's try to get her closed. It's taking me a minute to, what it is, I've got a recorder going, and I don't want to disturb it with hitting certain buttons. So now, here we're actually in the Compass program. And there's a couple things different about it. Number one is, instead of looking right at your grid, you actually work off of a control panel. I'm going to click here and go to full screen, and you actually make your adjustments here. You don't even look at the adjustment grid unless you're going to make some adjustments, and we'll look at that in the part 2. until you're done. Now, let's go to the subject property. This compass is designed so that you can use it without a subject property. You can just go into a market. You could just leave all these blank, and it will try to produce the adjustment rates. But it's also designed for you to use with, and probably most of the time, to have a subject property. So in this case, the site size of the subject is 2.2 acres. The gross living area, and this above grade, is 2,600 square feet. There's no basement at all, basement finished or unfinished. There's a 2-car garage. There's a swimming pool. There's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It was built in 1985. The location is rated a 2, and at the location, its rating, it gets better as it goes to the right. In other words, a 1 as it gets bigger. A 3 location is better than a 1 location. Then you have your, down here, you have your subject condition rating, and both the condition and quality ratings are like the AUD. They kind of work backwards. In other words, a 1 is better than a 6. And so the subject is rated a 4 in condition, and it's rated a 3 in quality, and the effective date of the appraisal was 11/1/2016. So once I get that data in, I would load it. All right, now I've got my comps loaded, and I think I have a video on loading comps. And remember what we said earlier in this video, if people like to use this, we'll fix it where it's easier to get the data in. I just, don't, as a programmer, I don't want to invest all my time and effort if nobody's going to use it. So if you use it, be sure and let me know. And if you like it and you start using it on a regular basis. So the more of you that do that, then the more motivated I'll be to make things work a little bit better. So here's the data. And you'll notice that there's no basements in any of these. It looks like the bedrooms are all the same. This happens with appraiser. Sometimes things are all the same. I did this because I don't want to get into every property features. There's the ratings. So you can freeze this and kind of look what the comps are. You can see these comps are comp 1, comp 2 Avenue, and actually these are made up comps. They're hypothetical. This is a hypothetical set of data, and I picked this data because I wanted one that the compass could not find, could not help the appraiser find all of the adjustments. So this data is far from perfect. And when we talk about hypothetical data like this, so we can test things, that's all discussed in the book on how to make up hypothetical data. And really the appraiser should always make up hypothetical data and run it through anything they use at least once and be sure that it works. I think that's kind of an implied, used to be a full use path requirement. Now it's kind of implied that if you use something, you should test it and make sure it works. And the best way to do that is make up some data that you know the answer to. So I know the answers to this, and let's just take a look now before we get started. So then you would click the load button. Okay, now let's go over. Now this, down at the bottom are worksheets, and we're on CP for control panel. Now I'm going to jump over here to market. Now this isn't really in this. I added this sheet just for this video. So let me close this for just a minute so we don't focus on it. We'll open it back up in a second. So as appraisers, there's nothing wrong with you knowing about your market, having experience. So the experience, your training, your judgment, and as appraisers know, a lot of that's in the back of our heads. And the way this works, and this may be something that underwriters may want to hear, appraisers are going to know what I'm saying here. You're going to nod your head, that's exactly right. But underwriters may not understand this, and maybe Fannie Mae people and maybe people that aren't appraisers that are involved in our system of, the process of real estate appraisals and loans and those kinds of things. Now, the appraiser has an idea, for example, that the site, the appraiser may say, and so I'm just going to use like I'm the appraiser, even though this is made up data. So I'll be the appraiser in this scenario, is that I know that the site should be adjusted at the lowest at 30,000 per acre, and at the highest at 50,000 per acre. And I'll mention this right now, and it's in the user manual. The site is set up to run two ways. One is by acre, but it will, and let me mention what it won't run by. It won't run by square feet. So convert your square feet of lot size into acres. And the other way it's designed, and what I'm trying to push for future, is that you basically would rate your sites maybe from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, and you would consider a lot of things in that when you do that, you know, like shape of the lot and those kinds of things. But in this case and in this example, we're doing it by acre. And as an appraiser, I think anything over 50 is going to be too high. And see, I know this market, you know, this hypothetical market. In the gross living area, I believe that the lowest adjustment is going to be 70 and the highest is 100. I think it's somewhere in there, 70 to 100. The pool, I believe, is 15 to 30,000 for the pool. You know, I believe a pool is worth something in this neighborhood, but it's probably not going to be worth 50 or 60. The location, and in this case, I think there's maybe 3 levels of location. That per rating of location, I think the adjustment should be somewhere between 8 and 10,000. So as an appraiser, I'm pretty sure it's not more than that. I'm pretty sure it's around 8. So I feel pretty good about the location because I've done appraisals in here before and I know that. The day since sale, I think, and a day since sale for us is market conditions. I believe the market conditions have been positive and probably more than 2, but less than 6% per year. Okay. Now the condition, as the condition rating, you know, gets bigger, the property gets worse. So these adjustments for condition and quality are going to be negatives. And I believe that the condition is somewhere between a -4 and a -8,000. And you can see here, I kind of made a mistake setting this up. Really, the 8,000 should be where the 4,000 is, because the 4,000 is, the 8,000 is the lowest. So I'm just going to do that real quick. -8,000. And then this one would be -4,000. So, all right, and I did the same thing here. So we're going to do 6,000 -6,000. And then what was the other one? Something like a -2 or something. It doesn't matter. We can get, it doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so that's what the appraiser believes. Now, what normally an appraiser would do from here on the adjustment grid would begin to use sensitivity analysis of some things as they try different rates here on the grid. And a lot of times that works out very good. Now, the compass uses the same kind of a sensitivity analysis, but it quantifies it very seriously with some charts and graphs, and it really tests it. Now, also, I told you this was a hypothetical market, so I actually know, and in the book we'll explain the real, or what I'm trying to say is the intrinsic, and we defined intrinsic. This is what I really used to make that market up, these rates here, and then I scrambled it. I don't remember how much right now, but I scrambled it enough that the data, that the compass can't find them all. Because in the book, it's very clear that what causes extraction techniques, mathematical extraction techniques, and probably all the extraction techniques, is the random variance that's inherent, whatever that word is, in real estate markets. It's, you know, real estate property markets are teeming with randomness, from incorrect data to buyers and sellers that just aren't totally efficient in what they do. So in this case, the appraiser's ideas were pretty close, except it's the very highest. And this one, he was real good. I was real good on my gross living area. The pool 15 to 30, I was good on that. The location 8 to 10, it's actually, I was wrong, and that's going to happen. It's actually, the real market's higher than I thought, and that's normal. So you get the idea of how this is set up. And as an appraiser, you know, we start with these numbers in our head because we've appraised in there many times and we know what works and doesn't work. Okay, so let's get back to, as we're about done with this video, and what we want to do here, one more thing first. And we want to set our rules and what we want to look at. And I should have kept that open, but let's look at set the rules. What we want is our ranges to be wider here, the low and high, than we had before. Okay, so 30 to 80, and I'm going to have to look here a minute, a couple of these. We were 30 to 50, and I did have a note out for this, and I don't have it out right now. So let's get back to rules. So now I got to look back. But 30 to 175, that's wider. We want these wider than our range. These set the axis on our charts. It sets the scale, and it also is where it starts. Like for gross living area, in this case, the analysis is going to start with $30, then 31, then 32, all the way up to 175. And it's going to look at how some of the outputs change so we can pick the right one. Basements didn't matter. Car storage, 0 to 30. Pool facility, 0 to 50. I think that's going to cover it. So these are probably set okay. Let's look, yeah, minus 15. Actually, what we said about let's take a look at our day since sale. We thought it was 2 to 6. So let's look at that again. 2 to 6. So let's go back to rules. And so minus 15's probably too much. We'll put a minus 5 because I want to change one of them just so you can see what I'm doing. And we'll just change that little bit. Condition of the property up to a minus 10, up to a minus 10. Now, if you change one, because be sure to be outside of those ranges, you would apply it. And I'd suggest you write down those ranges before you start. And you change it there, and then we close it. Okay, so now that that's done, we could just guess at these numbers because none of those adjustment techniques we're using, paired sales, residual analysis, and sensitivity analysis will work for example site unless these others are already adjusted for. And like if I'm trying to find pool, I need these others to be adjusted. So if you want to, you can just go ahead and, as an appraiser, when you wrote down these high and lows, you could just put the middle in and then begin. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called the mimic. There it comes. I'm going to use the mimic, and what I'm going to do is let it try to come up with some adjustment rates for these property characteristics. Now, what are these ones in greens with the X? Now remember, those are the ones that were all the same. They were all the same for the comps and the subject. None of them had basements. They were all 2-car garages. They were all the same age, same number of bedrooms, same number of baths. You'll notice that these actual age bedrooms and baths don't have analysis to run. And we'll get into that on another subject, why I don't analyze those. In the same way I'm going to do these. Now, when the mimic's done, it's going to put in some adjustment rates. Then we're going to go through on how to run these analysis for the appraiser and the compass to work together to try to find the best adjustment rates. So we'll come back when this is done and start the nitty-gritty part 2 video.